not to let you in, fall, I'll let you go. I'm giving it up for maybe.
Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. So today's video is going to be my problem with project pans, I guess. And while I don't think that I need to do a disclaimer or justify my thoughts, because they are valid arguments, it's not me just yelling at a thing. Obviously I love project pans. I'm doing a rolling 10 pan. I'm doing a pan that palette right now. I think I'm going to start another one in around February. My issue is not explicitly with project pans or what they represent in terms of using up products. My issue is more how they're represented by some individuals on YouTube and Instagram as social media platforms, and by the panning community, I guess. And this is not made to attack any single person, whether or not I use an example and it matches someone you've seen someone do. It's just kind of what I've gathered from about 6 months of interacting with the panning community, already being someone interested in minimalism and using up my products and not realizing that that was an actual thing that people actively did, essentially. And now finding the community, loving the community, and wanting to be a part of the community, but also wanting to share my thoughts, my concerns, my critiques, because I don't think it's a smart idea to just be a fan of something and never think about the actual underlying issues or areas that can be improved, as I feel like we should all be constantly doing with ourselves. So yes. Okay, so my problem with project pans, or yes. So I just have a list on my phone and I'm just going to go through the list and talk about each part. Before I start, I'm just going to say, if you like my face, I just uploaded a video that's doing get ready with me using every item in my project pan. So that's up there, and also everything on my face will be linked in the description. So if you want to check that out. Let's get started. Okay, so my first issue is when people don't use the products in their project pans. I'm going to get into even more specific aspects of that later in the video. But just when people don't use the products in their project pan, when they're doing a rolling 10 pan, or they're doing a pan that palette, or they're doing an eyeshadow roulette, pan those eyeshadows, and they take something and they're like, I've used this twice in the last month, and it's something like primer or something like an eyeshadow that they could have used many times, or at least more than twice in a month, as it is something that they are claiming that they're actively trying to pan. And then leading from that is when people make excuses about why they aren't panning something. They're like, I don't wear makeup to work. For instance, they're doing an eyeshadow pan, and they're like, well, I don't wear makeup to work, and then when I do makeup for you guys, I don't want to wear boring colors, and the palette that they're trying to pan is all neutrals, and it's like, well then, why do you have a neutral palette if you don't want to wear neutrals? And why are you choosing to pan that neutral palette? And then or they're saying they forget to wear it the day that they can wear it, they're like, oh, I forgot about it. That really bothers me, especially when they say they forgot about it, because I'm like, if you are actively trying to pan something and that's the thing you're trying to pan right now, you should not be forgetting about it. You should have it on a list somewhere, you should have it on a spreadsheet somewhere, you should just have it on your desk when you're doing your makeup, wherever you do your makeup. You should have it in whatever makeup bag that you pull out, you should have it in the top drawer, I don't know, but you should have it somewhere accessible, so that you're not forgetting about it. My next thing that really gets me, because I feel like every single time I watch an eyeshadow roulette, this happens. People complain about the colors they're getting, especially throughout the time. They'll get 2 browns that are the same color, and then they'll finally pan one of them, and they'll get another brown that's the same color, and they'll get upset, and they'll be like, I'm gonna just roll in a different thing, and that's fine. But my issue with that is that they will have 3 of basically the same color on their hand, and at no point will they acknowledge the fact that in like their eyeshadow collection, like if they have 3 or sometimes even like 5 like browns that are really, really similar in their eyeshadow collection, that means they aren't consciously like thinking about what eyeshadows they already have when they're buying new eyeshadows. Like I feel like a lot of people talk about why project pans help them be more conscious when they're buying things, and I just feel like that's never talked about, where they never go, oh, the fact that I had 5 dark browns means that next time when I'm like thinking about what palettes to buy, I'm going to try to pick palettes that don't have a bunch of dark browns in them. And I feel like they never talk about that, and that's really annoying to me. And then my next thing is when people don't make a ton of progress, if it's because they're not like using the product and then they get angry about it or they complain about the product during their updates. Like if somebody's trying to pan a blush, and panning a blush is hard because it's a very small amount of your face. You can't use very much of it because like there'd be too much buildup. You're using a very like wispy brush to do it because you want to blend it out really easily. And so yeah, it's hard to pan a blush. But then though, and that sucks. And like even if you used it every single day, it'd be hard to pan a brush. Ugh, it'd be hard to pan a blush. And like I get that. And I agree. But when they only use it like 5 times, and they get like really annoyed about the fact that it's been in their project for a really long time, or even if they use it 30 times and they're not making very much progress and they start to get like annoyed by that, that really bothers me. I feel like it always like annoys me when somebody's complaining about having to use a product, a product, because I feel like you can just roll it out. If you're like, okay, you guys know I've been using this for 6 months. I tally it. I've been using it about 25 times each month. I've definitely broken 100. I've done it about 150 times at this point, so I'm gonna roll it out. I'm gonna roll in another blush, or I'm just gonna not like do it for something, or maybe I'll just roll something else in and roll that out, whatever. But like when they start to like pan something and they get mad that they're not finishing it, that really bothers me, because if the point is to like get all that use out of the product, first of all, you should be happy that that product has so much use out of it, and then second of all, especially if you're not using it very much, then like you should be using it more. But second of all, like you're making that choice that you want to pan that item, so just be like, okay, you guys, I've done a lot on this. I would not be mad at somebody if somebody was like, I've been working on this the last 6 months, I have still not hit pan, and I just want to take a break with this blush for a while. I might roll it back in before the end of the project, but who knows. That would be totally reasonable. But I hate it when people get like angry, and you can see them getting angry while you're watching it, because it's like, first of all, I'm not as invested in this as you are, because like obviously you're using it every day. I'm more invested in my pan than anybody watching it is. But like it's really annoying, and it's like really just like, it bothers me. I don't know, something about it is just very much like, don't, like, if the point of wearing makeup is supposed to be fun, and the point of like using your products up is supposed to be fun, and you're making it seem like it's a chore, and that's really like the opposite of what panning is supposed to represent. And then this is like with powder products especially, and it's especially with like dark eyeshadows, or like, yeah, for the most part, when people make like a single hole in the product and use that to hit pan. So I don't mean like there's a big, you're like making a well with it, you're like using the product, like you're not actively trying to hit pan, or maybe you are like trying to stay in like the center to hit pan in the center or whatever, and you hit like pan, but there's obviously like a well. I mean when you've gone straight down and there's a pan. And I can't remember who it was, and even if I did remember who it was, I would not tell you. But I was watching someone, and they were bringing back in, I can't exactly remember what it was. It was something black. It was either like an eyebrow thing or an eyeliner thing or like an eye shadow. And they were essentially like, and they had just like this one dip that just went straight down, and it was like a pretty thick amount of product. And they were like, yeah, like I haven't used this since my last product pan, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And I only have this, like, I have hit pan technically, but I only have like a hole because I basically just gouged it with tweezers to like kick up product in that spot so that I could hit pan just by going straight down. And I was like, that's not using up the product then. That's you trying to hit pan for the sake of hitting pan, and that really bothers me. That there's just like, why? Just like, don't pan that item. don't do it like that. I mean, that annoys me. Like, I'm in my Naked palette that I'm panning right now for my Project Pan, or my Pan That palette. I'm using an eyeliner to go into the darker shade to use it as a liner, but I'm trying to like go through it each time I do it, so I'm not just like hitting one spot over and over again. And even if I do, I'm trying to use it up, so it's not like once I hit pan I'll be like, yeah, I hit pan, I don't need to use it anymore. But that just really bothers me when it's like one little spot and it's just like a hole. It's not like a well with a tiny bit of pan. And then, like, to piggyback on the example I made, when people are bringing an item into their project and they talk about how they haven't used it since the last time they did a project pan, if they were like, oh yeah, like I hit pan in this blush and then I have not touched it for half a year, for a year, and now I'm bringing it back in this project pan because I just like forgot about it after I hit pan on it. And that really bothers me, because it's like, at least for me, I'm either trying to use something up or I'm trying to force myself to use something that I have not thought about using in a while, so that once I hit pan, I'll continue to use it and just think about it more regularly. I'm not trying to be like, okay, I hit pan and now this goes in the back of the collection and I pull out a new one. That's silly to me, and I have like a whole, that's my last point, that I'll talk more about that in, but that just really bothers me when somebody's like, yeah, I haven't touched this since the last time that I panned it for your, like, for the views, you know, and now it's like, and now I just want to like expand pan, which I just feel like sometimes is like because it looks good. And then people complain about having to pan something because when it's new, like even if you are panning something like a new palette of yours, isn't that just helping you actually get some use out of it while you're doing this eyeshadow roulette where you would have less time to use that palette? And then also just don't put it in your spreadsheet, or like, since you're putting it in at the end because it's a new thing, just don't include that when you do your random number generator. Like, it's so easy. Because I have a makeup inventory and then I also have an eyeshadow inventory. It would be so easy for me to just be like, okay, I'm cutting this out and I'm putting it at the end of my spreadsheet, and then I'm just not going to use those numbers in my spreadsheet, in my random number generator. It's so easy. I don't understand. I don't understand your issue. Even if it's in the middle, just like take it out, put it to the side, so you know that if you get that number, that's not one of the ones you want to do. Like, I don't understand. You're making the active choice that you want to pan it by putting it in the spreadsheet in which you're picking a random number to pan. Especially since it seems that the pseudo random generator tends to go for the later numbers. At least I feel like people are always complaining about using new palettes more than they're excited about using old palettes, so. And then this is also specific to like a roulette style project, which is every single product somebody gets when they talk about how nervous or scared they are, or like they complain about like not liking that product, and they always look like upset, where they're like, that's not a product I would normally use, that's not a concealer I like using. Oh, it's like a purple eyeshadow, I don't really use purple eyeshadows. And I'm like, well then why did you get 2 purple eyeshadows in your random number generator? Like, you just happen like to get 2 purple eyeshadows, then why do you have any purple eyeshadows in your, why did you buy palettes with purple eyeshadows if you didn't want to wear purple eyeshadows? And it really bothered me. I feel like I've been watching a lot of roulettes lately where for every single shade the person gets, they go, oh, I'm a little bit nervous about this one, guys. And it's like, are you trying to make it more suspenseful? Because it's not suspenseful. It's about wearing eyeshadow. Like, if you really didn't like that color, you just won't hit pan in it, or you'll trade it out for something else. It's not that suspenseful. It's not that deep. And it just really annoys me whenever somebody says that, because it's really like, I feel like part of project panning is you're supposed to be showing how exciting and fun it is to use up things that you bought because you love them and then you forgot about because your collection is so large, or just because you get caught up using the same thing every single day. And when you perpetuate this idea that like using this product is scary or makes you nervous, or you're so worried about it, even though you're just trying to play it up for the camera, I assume, because it's stupid if you're actually nervous about having to use purple eyeshadow, it perpetuates this idea that like it's not actually that fun to like be forced to pan stuff. Which is one of the reasons why, like, when people get angry about having to pan a product for a long time, it annoys me, because, like, again, it's, like, making it seem like less of a positive, which is I feel like what part of the community is trying to do. It's not just, oh, I'm panning stuff for me. It's supposed to be, I'm trying to show you how you panning your own stuff is really fun and better than just buying more and more makeup and accumulating more and more stuff. And then my final criticism is this perpetuation of the idea that hitting pan is getting as much use out of the product as you can, or like when you hit pan, then like you've basically done all that you can. I just feel like, especially when it's like the tiniest little baby pan, I have no issue if somebody's like, I hit pan because, and I got this little baby pan. But my issue is when somebody's like, well, I hit pan on it, so I don't really like want to use it like anymore, or like I don't need, like I've gotten my use out of it because I've hit pan on it. I feel like people say stuff like that a lot, and that bothers me because you can't really say that about any other product. Like if I said that about one of my liquids, if I was like, well, it's about half full, so I've gotten my use out of it, you'd be like, that's insane. That's insanity. And to me, when it's kind of like, yes, you're making it well before you hit pan, if you're doing it right, you still probably have about half left, about a quarter left. If somebody said that about a drink, if somebody was like, well, I have a quarter left of my drink, so it's not really worth me finishing it off. Like I paid $10 for my drink, but I mean, I got 75% of it, so I mean, I used it up. There are other drinks to be drank. You would find that silly, and so I kind of find that silly too, especially since I feel like Project Panning is supposed to be about using the products, and you're supposed to be hitting pan to like rethink about using them, like I said before, with the whole like not using it after, like between projects essentially. And so perpetuating this idea that once you've hit pan, you're done with the product bothers me. I don't think everyone does it, and I don't think that's necessarily anyone's intent when they talk about like getting their use out of it by hitting pan. I just think that sometimes when you're hearing it over and over again, it's perpetuating this idea that once you hit pan on a product, there's no use of it anymore, or you should be like using something else. And I do think that I kind of perpetuate that in some way. You'll hear in my makeup inventory that's coming out in a little bit, that like in terms of eyeshadow palettes, I want to have a certain amount panned and a certain amount like not panned, and so I am perpetuating this idea that like I've used a good amount if I've panned it, but that is also because I do believe that if I've panned an eyeshadow, that probably means that I've been using that palette for a while, and that doesn't mean I'm going to stop using that palette. It just means that I feel like that palette's use isn't going to be overthrown by a new palette, if that makes sense. But yeah, those were my issues with Project Pans. Let me know down below what you think about my issues, any issues you have. I really want this to be a discussion, a conversation, not a me being like, people are panning incorrectly, and it's my job as the panning police to make sure they're doing it right. That's not what this is. It's just what I've noticed as somebody who's like a new person into the community, which I think is really important. Maybe I'll make a video in like a year that's like my new thoughts on the panning community now that I've been in it for a year. I've panned a palette, I've done a rolling pan for a year. But as somebody who's now like been an observer for 6 months and a part of it for about a month, I really do just want to think critically. I mostly have an outsider's perspective, which I think is important, or at least a viewer's perspective. And maybe in a little bit I'll have a panner's perspective, and I will be interested in doing another video about like the panner's perspective. And you can let me know down below if you want that. Other than that, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to stick around, you totally can, because I make new videos every few days and I would love for you to be here. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you next time. Bye.
Weren't you too scared to spell? No matter the cost.